Thank you. At the Athens Defense Summit, at a moment that will define not Europe's future, but also its role in the world for decades to come. The age of certainty is over. Europe is facing a new geopolitical reality. A prolonged war on its borders and another conflict unfolding in its wider neighborhood. Hybrid attacks, cyber attacks, energy coercion, and the destabilization of critical infrastructure. And a global competition increasingly determined by technology, innovation, and the resilience of our economies. And in this new reality, security is not and must never be an abstract concept. Security is a prerequisite for freedom, a prerequisite for democracy, a prerequisite for economic growth, and a prerequisite for social cohesion. Without security, there can be no investment, no confidence, no future, and that's why Europe is now called upon to do something that for many years it took for granted, to invest strategically in its own protection. And this is precisely where the role of the European Investment Bank becomes more critical than ever before. The EIB is not simply the bank of the European Union. It is the investment arm of Europe's strategic autonomy. It is the institution that transforms Europe's political priorities into real projects, real infrastructure, and real capabilities for European citizens. The year 2025 marked a historic turning point for the bank in the field of security and defense. We revised our eligibility framework, extending financing beyond dual-use projects to include pure defense projects for the first time. And we acted decisively. Within just 1 year, the EIB Group increased significantly its financing for European security and defense. In 2025 alone, we invested more than 4 billion euros in security and defense projects, exceeding every initial target we had set. And for 2026, the European Investment Bank has already approved a further increase, bringing security and defense financing to 5% of the group's total financing activities within the European Union. This sends a clear message. Europe is awakening. Europe is investing. Europe is taking responsibility for its own security. And the EIB is at the forefront of this effort. Today, we have built a strong pipeline of more than 25 flagship projects across Europe. We are financing artificial intelligence and autonomous drones in Germany with investments around of 70 million euros. Cybersecurity system in France with 25 million euros. Undersea cable protection technologies in the Netherlands with 25 million euros. And satellite capabilities in Belgium with 38 million euros. Advanced propulsion systems for space technologies in Sweden with 20 million euros. And in Italy, we are financing the procurement of military helicopters and strengthening air mobility defense capability with 180 million euros. Military infrastructure on Europe's eastern borders with more than 300 million euros in financing, and critical energy infrastructure in Ukraine with more than 80 euros, whereas Europe's resilience is being tested every day. At the same time, through the Defense Equity Facility, now entering a new 1 billion phase, we are building for the very first time a truly European investment ecosystem for defense, cybersecurity, space startups, and scale-ups. Because the security of the 21st century will not be decided only on battlefields. It will be decided in innovation labs, in data centers, in microchips, in artificial intelligence, in cybersecurity, and in space. And Europe cannot afford to depend exclusively on others for critical technologies and strategic infrastructure. Ladies and gentlemen, Greece has a particularly important role to play in this European reality. Its geopolitical position, its energy and maritime infrastructure, its defense ecosystem, and above all, its highly skilled human capital, makes Greece a strategic pillar of stability and security in the Eastern Mediterranean and Southeastern Europe. And already, as the European Investment Bank, we are working closely with Greece. We are already providing technical assistance for security and defense projects, supporting the preparation and maturation of strategic investments that will strengthen both national and European resilience. And in the coming months, we are preparing to announce our first major investment in this critical sector in Greece. From critical infrastructure and cybersecurity to logistics, ports, energy networks, and dual-use technologies, Greece can and will evolve into a regional hub of innovation and strategic resilience. And let me stress something very important. Investments in security and defense are not expenditures without return. They are investments that create technology. They create industry, they create innovation, they create highly skilled jobs. And they have strengthened the competitiveness of the European economy as a whole. History has shown us that many of the technologies that transformed our lives were born through investments in security and defense. So today, we are not investing only to protect Europe. We are investing to shape Europe's future. Ladies and gentlemen, Europe stands at historic crossroads. And at a moment like this, inertia is not an option. What is required is courage, is unity, is strategic determination. The European Investment Bank is ready to deliver with financing, with expertise, with partnerships, and with speed and determination. Because Europe's security is a shared responsibility, and because a stronger Europe will not be built through words alone. It will be built through investment, innovation, and a common vision for our future. This is our European responsibility, and this is our European future. Thank you very much for your attention.